All right, FightHype.com here with my man, Hall of Famer, Andre Ward. Dre, what's good with you, bro?
Man, I like how that sound, bro. I like how that sound, man. I like that intro. What's going on, baby?
Come on, man. Look, that's the only way we can refer to you now, Hall of Famer, Andre Ward. That's just a wonderful feat. You're just a few weeks away from the official induction, right?
Yeah, man, it's a couple weeks away, bro. It's what's crazy is that obviously I'm excited and happy to get in, but like, that's almost becoming like secondary, man. Like I'm like the young kid in me, that loves boxing is like kind of taking over, just realizing like all the champions that are gonna be on that podium, man. Like it's gonna be crazy. Like obviously I feel like I'm a first ballot Hall of Famer, but I can't believe that I'm getting in with like my big three. Floyd, Bernard, and Roy. Like those are my three coming up. I'm like a hybrid of all three of those guys. And like how we going in at the same time. I know it's three different classes, but the fact that we like are actually getting inducted on the same day, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
It's crazy. I mean, I don't even know if that's going to be possible again. Like, I mean, I mean, just all the names. I mean, just obviously the names you mentioned, but the names we didn't even mention. I mean, there's just a lot of big names that are going in, and like I said, it's just a few weeks away, bro. I mean, are you going to go for the entire thing? You're going to do the fist casting and all that stuff?
Man, I'm gonna do it all, bro. I
Wow.
worked my whole life for this moment.
Hmm.
So I'm taking a lot of my family. We going out there, and man, we gonna go out in style. We gonna enjoy it. We gonna live it up, and I'm gonna just be a kid out there, man, just enjoying the other fighters. I went for the first time in 2015,
Hmm.
um, and it's a small town. You think the Hall of Fame is some might think it's real big, but it's not. But it's in a small town called Canastota, New York, in upstate New York, and but the people, man, they love boxing and they love the fighters, and they like the hotel you stay at. They line up every day. They got memorabilia. They want autographs and pictures. Like town comes out, puts up banners, and when you do the parade, the day of the induction, man, the whole town comes out. Like so, it's crazy. It's like a small little place, but you feel the love.
That's what's up. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna be there, and I
Come
can't
on,
wait
man,
to.
you gotta be there.
I have to be there, bro. I have to be there. I mean, just as a forget about relationships. Just as a boxing fan, I have to be there, man. It's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be a great weekend, a great weekend. But speaking about great weekend, well, it's great for some people, but not for others. I have to ask you about the big upset, Dmitry Bivol beating Canelo Alvarez over the weekend. Before I actually ask you about the fight, I need to go back like almost 2.5 years. You probably already know what I'm going to bring up. 2.5 years ago, you did an interview. I think it was fresh off of Canelo's fight with Kovalev. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and at the time, you put out a little warning. You said, hey, you better stay away from Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev. Why at that time did you make that comment?
Well, I think both fighters, Bivol and Beterbiev, like they had a lot of momentum at that time, and you just see the kind of fighters they are. Like Canelo does a good job of like picking and choosing who he fights, and like the whole Kovalev thing was very strategic, and he just he just know, okay, this guy is a threat to a point, but we should get him. I didn't think he was ever going to pick one of those guys at that time, and I didn't think he should deal with those guys in the future. If they continue to look the way they were looking, because just the type of fighters they are. Like Bivol is a really good boxer. I covered him for one of my shows, Chasing Greatness, when I worked for HBO, um, similar to my Unguarded show for ESPN,
Mm.
and I got to see what type of fighter he was. I studied him. I went and seen him spar. I talked to him, and I knew he was a good quality fighter. The only concern I had for him going into the Canelo fight was he mean enough?
Mm.
Did he have that dog in him? And he showed that he did. And if it better be he's kind of to me he slipped a little bit over the last few years, just because of inactivity and just his style. He's a slow starter. He gets behind, and I think he really believes in his power. But he's still, he's still very very dangerous. But at that time, he was looking even more dangerous. And I just didn't think either one of those guys are guys that Canelo, being a smaller man, should come up and fight. And that's why the statement was made.
Well, like I said, that was like 2.5 years ago. Fast forward to now, when he actually did face him. Well, first of all, I mean, did you even get a chance to? I'm sure you saw some highlights, but did you get a chance to see the whole fight?
Yeah, no, I haven't watched the whole fight, but I wasn't home, but I read up on it and I watched enough to understand what happened. And I think in taking the fight, I think Canelo probably miscalculated. Number one, I think that Bivol has been a bit inactive. You know, he's had some. You know, he's won his fights, but he hasn't had anything that was like polarizing. So I think, I think it was a bit. He just miscalculated, and he took that leap. And that's what it takes to beat a Canelo. Like you got to be a hybrid in there. You can't just be a good boxer, right? You can't just be a fighter. I mean, I'm sure somebody on the planet one day, can just be one thing. And if Canelo stays around long enough, maybe they can beat him. But I'm saying today, right now, you got to be a hybrid. You got to be able to box and be physically strong, because Canelo will put the pressure on you and he breaks a lot of guys mentally. But then you got to be able to step in that wheelhouse and you got to be able to get you some. And you're going to take some, but you got to be able to get you some. And that's the only way he's going to respect you. And that's what Bivol did. He was he got hit and he hit Canelo back. And you can see Canelo, it's always a look that guys who are dominant, when they're not being dominant in that moment, or they're used to hitting guys with certain punches like Canelo, he was throwing all his signature shots, right? The left hook, all the heavy shots that he likes to throw, because he loads up with a lot of shots, all them shots. And Bivol was taking them and then hitting them back. And you just see this look on his face like, oh, like this ain't how this is supposed to go. So Bivol was that, bro. He was a hybrid that night. He boxed. I never saw him get shook when Canelo tried to put mental pressure on him by cutting off the ring. He acted like he had been at that level before, even though he had never been at that level before as a pro. And then he had moments where he was willing to stand there and fight and slug. And I just think that Canelo miscalculated. I don't think that he believed that Bivol had that kind of fight left in him. And I didn't know if Bivol had that fight left in him, because I was more confident that Bivol had a shot to do his thing when I made the first comment than I did currently, because I didn't know what Bivol is going to show up. He's been inactive. He's had some fights, don't get me wrong, but he hasn't had the kind of performance where you say that's the kind of performance that's going to beat Canelo. So I didn't know, and I was unsure, just like a lot of people, but I did know he had the ability. I just didn't know if he could put it all together.
How much of that fight was Bivol's performance versus the weight? Do you think the weight actually had anything to do with the upset?
Yeah, size definitely has something to do with it. But here's the problem that I have. Here's the problem that I have with people saying that, oh, the weight's too much. He's got to go back down, and we should just give him credit for trying to be great. Yes and no. Like Canelo deserves the credit for going up in weight. No doubt about it. Give him credit. He took that leap. Even if he did miscalculate and thought it was going to be an easier night, the point is he signed the fight. And he got in there with a bigger dude again. He did it with Kovalev, and he did it again with Bivol. You got to give him credit for that. But we can't praise him when he beats Kovalev and talk about how great he is, and talk about how nobody else is doing what he's doing and the risk he's taking. Oh my God. And then when he falls short, give him a soft place to fall. Because we got to keep it. You can't have it both ways. You can't hedge your bets. You can't say, well, I'm going to take this leap, but if I'm unsuccessful, it was just the weight was too much. Yeah, the weight was probably too much. And it wasn't just the weight. It was you fought the wrong guy. This guy wasn't there to lay down. He wasn't intimidated by the moment, by you as a fighter. He took your best shot and he hit you back in the mouth. That's just what happened. But let that just be what it is. We can't begin to take away, because now we start to take away from Bivol's performance and what he did and the kind of fighter he was, when we just say, oh, it's just the weight. It wasn't the weight with Kovalev. It wasn't too much then, but it's too much of Bivol. And they're also, and I'm talking about just media in general, they're putting out videos, of Kovalev sparring heavyweights. videos that constantly get put out of Kovalev fighting heavyweights. Excuse me, Canelo sparring heavyweights.
Right.
And we promote it. Oh my God, I mean, and apparently the dudes he's sparring with the heavyweight, he's dealing with them with ease.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't begin to make too much of a big deal about the weight. When you're willing to go up and down, you got to take that. That comes with the territory. If you miscalculate and you come up short, you should get the credit. Give Canelo credit for taking those risks. But bro, beyond that, you cannot give him a soft place to fall, because here's the thing: if Shakur Stevenson goes up to 130 and gets clipped by Jamel Herring or Oscar Valdez, do you think those same things are going to be said about him?
No.
If Terrence Crawford goes up to 154 and fights somebody and falls short, do you think the same things are going to be said about him?
No.
When Floyd Mayweather, who is really probably was a 140 pounder, really probably was a 140 pounder, campaigned at 147, went up to 154, and fluctuated, nobody talked about the weight disadvantages that he was under throughout his career, and age. But let's just talk weight, since we're talking weight. He went up and fought Marcos Maidana, who is a monster, even if you guys are the same size and you looking eye to eye. But Floyd was way smaller than Marcos Maidana, and they wanted Floyd to lose so bad that nobody wanted to acknowledge the weight. And then I can go on and on. This is not just this. I'm just naming 2 or 3 people right now. So my whole thing in boxing is this: people say, "Oh, you don't like Canelo?" No, I don't have a problem with Canelo. I have no history with Canelo. The media and fans, they made up a whole thing about a rivalry that never existed. But I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to tell the truth. And if I get penalized for telling the truth, then go ahead and bring the penalty. But I got to be honest about what I'm seeing. And then I'm also going to speak about the double standards that have been in boxing for as long as I've been around, and it's going to probably be around long after I'm gone. Those are the things that need to be addressed and talked about. We can't switch the headlines. We can't move the goalposts depending on the fighter. So give Canelo credit. Give him credit. But keep the same energy that you would have for them other 3 fighters and many other ones that I didn't name if they fell short or if they didn't look good. And let's give Floyd credit for everything that he did. Floyd fought younger guys. Floyd fought guys that were a lot bigger than him constantly. When he fought Cotto, all we talked about was the bloody nose and how Cotto had good moments and this and that. And Cotto did. He fought a great fight. Not a lot of people talked about the weight and the risk that he took with the age. Well, I think they're similar age, but in the weight that he took coming up to 154. Floyd Mayweather's really a 140-pound fight. Floyd could eat whatever he wanted. He's still walking around at 149, maybe 150 on a good day, but making 147. That's unheard of. So I just think we gotta keep the playing field as even as possible. It's never gonna fully be even, but I'm gonna do my part, try to level that thing out, man.
Yeah, I'm actually glad you said that, because I was thinking the same thing. Not hating or anything, but I do feel like he's getting just a little too much praise about daring to be great. When guys like Amir Khan, who actually fought Canelo and got knocked out, didn't get that same type of praise. I mean, they got a little bit of praise, but not as much as Canelo is getting. And I just was kind of surprised.
Amir, that's a great point. Excuse me. Amir Khan didn't get a lot of credit for that. I don't think that was a smart move by Amir, but he took it. He took it. So listen, bro. This is not some anomaly or some novel thing that I'm talking about. This stuff has been around. It's just times where you got to call it out, though. The double standards, and we like this guy, so we're going to bring up the good things and gloss over the bad things. We don't like this guy, so we're going to make polarizing comments over the bad things and gloss over the good. This stuff has been going on, but I feel like with the time I put in the sport and the seat that I sit in, every now and again, I gotta say, hold on. That's probably not the way we should be looking at it, because this kind of rhetoric and stuff, it confuses fans, bro. And you see fans that really don't know what they're saying or what they're talking about, and they're going in, and you're like, brother, that ain't right. like that ain't right. But they've read some blog somewhere, or they went to some YouTube, and they take that as the gospel, and they just run with it, and it's just not right. It's not right. But give them credit for stepping up, man. I respect that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Just you mentioned Floyd, and I know you haven't watched the fight fully, but just in the clips that you did see, Were there any similarities between, the game plan that Bivol used and what Floyd did? I mean, obviously it's not the same game plan, but where did you see any similarities in things that troubled Canelo? A jab in his face, movement, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
fundamentals in boxing.
Mm,
The style that everybody likes to talk down on, the style that everybody says nobody wants to see, the style that is not given the credit it should be given. That style, that one.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, IQ, thinking, boxing when you want to fight, fighting when you want to box, and sometimes fighting when you want to fight and getting the better of it. Like just all of that. Like that's all under the umbrella of being a great boxer, Floyd being a master boxer, and then having an IQ where like you're thinking 2 steps ahead. Like you're a great chess player. When you're a good boxer with a great IQ, you're like a chess player that's thinking 2-3 steps up ahead. Your opponent makes a move, man, bam, bam, bam. I knew you was gonna do that. I'm already on top of that. That's what it was. It wasn't like super flashy. It was just basic, fundamental boxing. And then the intangibles, toughness, mental toughness, heart. He got hit with some good stuff. He didn't show it. That fighters are great. They're like chameleons. They can mask a lot of things. They'll adapt to what they need to adapt to survive in it. He can't show Canelo that he's hurt, but he showed fundamental boxing, but then also the intangibles that you need to be a champion.
Right. Do you think you said you think he might have Canelo might have miscalculated? Do you think he should do the rematch, or should he just head back down to 168 and do the Golovkin fight?
I mean, personally, I don't understand the Golovkin fight. I don't like beyond just money.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond just money. But Canelo and them, they say they don't fight for money. It's for glory, it's for titles and accomplishments. I don't really see the point in that fight.
You don't think there's unfinished business?
Man, listen. Golovkin he's 40 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And he looks a little bit older, and I think that's based on the ring style because he's taking a lot of punishment in these fights. And trust me, that same punishment is being taken in sparring. And I'm not sure Golovkin hasn't done anything to earn a third fight with Canelo. And Canelo initially said, "There's no reason for us to fight again."
Yeah.
But he starts to do the math. Okay, he's getting older. Okay, he can still sell. He's not looking like himself. Golovkin hasn't looked good for several years now. And I'm not sure what has he done to bring excitement and now fans are gonna be fans. They're gonna show up, the hardcore fans. But I'm saying what has been like he hasn't done anything to earn another shot at Canelo. Like I don't understand the fight other than just trying to make some money. If that's just what it is, like look, we're trying to give him another payday. So it's a good payday for Canelo, then I understand it. But if it's about some glory and unfinished business, man, I like on paper, yeah, I guess the way the first two fights went, you can say that. But like I don't see the point, and I don't know what that does for Canelo's legacy. If Golovkin wins, it's obviously a great win for him as he's getting older. But I think that Canelo having the praise that he has and people saying that he's one of the all-time great Mexican champions, I think he's got to run that back. I think he's got to run that back.
I mean, can he do anything different in a rematch, though?
Hey, of course he can.
True.
I don't know if it'll be enough, but of course he can. You can always change things. Sometimes it's not a lot of big things. It's a handful of small things. I don't know how he trained for that, but only he knows. I don't know if he felt like, man, I'm a train, but I don't know. I don't know. He knows better than anybody. But from a legacy standpoint, we're talking all time. And that's the thing about calling guys all time. We got to separate your box office appeal from your resume, your box office appeal from your greatness and your prowess as a fighter. I'm not saying that Canelo's not a great fighter, but I'm saying we got to be, because I think those things in boxing they get meshed together, and it's like, man, he's the greatest ever. It's like, no, hold on, wait a second, bro. Wait, listen, like look at the record, look at who he fought, when he fought him. We gotta stop doing that. So what I'm saying is Canelo has gotten a lot of that praise in his career, and a lot of it is warranted. But now's the time when you got to earn your money right now. These kind of moments right now where you lost a fight, it didn't go your way. Now the world needs to see you go into your bag, make adjustments, and come back and try to beat this bigger man that you wanted to fight. Canelo calls his own shots, right? So he didn't have to fight Bivol, right?
True.
So you went picking on him. You went knocking on his door. Hey, you want to fight? You made him an offer. He didn't make you an offer. This wasn't a mandatory. This wasn't a forced fight from a network. Canelo calls his shots. So he knocked on that door. It didn't go his way. From a greatness standpoint, from an all greatness standpoint, from a legacy standpoint, you got to run that back. You got to run it back. That's what great fighters do.
True.